No. No.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Wealth Creation Show. We are live. We're live on TikTok. We are live on Instagram and across the rest of our social media platforms. So hope you're joining us this afternoon. We are going to be talking about financial weakness today and just kind of bounce back some ideas about how people deal with their finances and how it can be a weakness in your wealth creation journey. I mean, I suppose
Interesting enough, but this is just the kind of thing we're talking about now. As I'm looking at costs and stuff like that and going, are we actually checking with other people that these costs are actually comparable or competitive in terms of that, and how to keep people on their feet and contractors on their feet? And this is financial control. It's probably the best form. And you know, my background's been a financial controller in industry, in manufacturing.
Yeah, you've been sending me a few stuff through, Jim, and it's like, do we still need to have this? Does this need to be in place? Is this costing us X amount? Are we using it?
It's minimal in the scope of things, but the reality is, if somebody's charging it every single month and you're not really using it that much, then you may as well get rid of it, because it's like there's 1,000 here, there's 1,000 there, there's 1,000 there, and the next minute it's like you've got about 20 grand, and it's like, that's not to be batted an eyelid, 20 grand, and that's why financial control and financial weakness is probably the thing that'll get you the most. Just forgetting about it. Classic example is, I don't know, but I used to obviously the market I deal in when I first started out, I dealt in the benefits market in terms of being a landlord and stuff like that, and that was what I was heavily involved in at that time. And the difficulty was, the first thing I saw, most of the people that were struggling were actually on benefits, is they ignore their bills. A lot of them just left them on the ground in envelopes. And they would never open them. They would never open them. And I thought to myself, no wonder. It's like, if you just refuse to actually acknowledge where you are and just live life carefree and don't bother about the bills that come in and don't think about the consequences of your actions about going out and doing certain things and having what you've just said is a financial weakness, then it's going to catch up to you at some point in time.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And a lot of people, it's like the head in the sand thing. And I think over the years, dealing with helping tenants and things, especially vulnerable tenants, trying to get back on track, you discover that the problem's been that they just kind of shy away from the issue at hand, rather than dealing with it. Possibly because
they're head in the sand.
Yeah, possibly they don't know how to deal with it or where to turn to get the right help to deal with that. So yeah.
It's a lot to do with. It's maybe a lot to do with the task at hand seems so monumental to what they've ever dealt with before. Therefore, they don't know how to actually handle that, and they don't know how to control it. They don't know how to sort it out because they've never sorted it out. They don't know anybody that's been able to sort out that. They come from a background where maybe everybody else has been like that they've ever had any contact with. Hence the reason why would they know any better?
Yeah, and it's what how they've been taught to deal with their financial situation and things from their parents or whoever was their guardians and things growing up. That rubs off on you and how you deal with things in later life.
Mainly it's your parents. I mean, it's your parents, a reflection of your parents. And I used to get, let's be honest, I used to get into trouble quite a lot when I was younger. And my mother and father, my mother especially, used to say to me, this will come back to us. And I went, why should it? It's me, it's done it. It's like, how should it be a reflection of you? Because that's what the type of things she used to say. And I used to go, but it was me that did it, so why would it reflect on you? Now I understand completely. But at that time, I was like, why would you be responsible for me? It just shows you what my mind was like when I was really young. Because I'm talking about 7 and 8 years old.
Yeah.
Why would that reflect on you? It's like, because I just saw myself as completely independent at that age. Not that I was. I still had to be fed. I still had to be fed, and I still had to live in their house and all the rest of it. But I just saw the world maybe in a different way from most people when I was that age. Hence the reason why I was probably in trouble most of the time.
So before we move on, I'll just do a few shout outs because thanks for joining, Angela. Lucinda, I did see your message coming through because we were a wee bit late joining this morning. I was just a couple of technical things, so I know you're there somewhere. And William, I've seen your message on TikTok. I will come back to you about that. later on. But yeah, let's delve into financial weakness. And we've established that people do struggle with money. And sometimes, do you know, whether it's the economy, whether it's people's, do you know, this social culture that has an effect on people, and they feel like they need to do certain things to a certain level just to keep up with everybody else. But you could still make really smart choices.
No, so on you go. I've got a great graphic. I'm going to dig it out.
Right, okay. But you can't still make really good choices when it comes to money. And today we're going to go through a few things and take a look at some of the most common financial mistakes that people can make and can sometimes lead people into some different levels of hardship and things as well. And Jim's going to look at a graphic now, but we're going to lead in with looking at unnecessary spending. And I think I've made it the first thing to talk about today because it's something that I think we all do fall foul of at some point in life, until you realise that overspending or unnecessary spending can have a really detrimental effect on your situation.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Success is not always what you see. This, and I was going on about this at the weekend about the gurus. Yeah. This is what you see, the fake gurus. You see all this. It's all just smoke and mirrors. Mm-hmm. The snake salesman or saleswoman, to not be sexist about it. It's like, but this is what you see, isn't it? And yet the people that really are grafting and building wealth, this is what you see. But most people just want this, because this on the right-hand side represents the things, cars, holidays, big houses.
Things, yeah.
Aye, the things that make them worth in other people's minds, gives them value in other people's minds. Oh, that's fantastic. How many times did people post pictures and everybody goes, oh, you look beautiful. You look beautiful, hun, yeah. And all the rest of it. I know why you're posting that picture. Because you're wanting people to say that, aren't you? Yeah. You're needing affirmation from other people. Now, that's okay. But think about that, why you've done it. Because you need somebody to affirm that you are worth, that you've got worth to you. You've got to convince yourself. Mm-hmm. That's why you've done it. That's why I'm kind of reluctant to post pictures of me. Look at me. Here's another one of me running. It's like, I'm kind of, for me personally, I just do that for somebody to inspire someone else. It's like, because I've known in the past I've done that, and some other people have gone, I started running because of you. Alex Walker actually said that at the PIN meeting, something about running. I went on about running and went, I started because of you. But that's what that does represent when you think about it. That is the true thing. That is, success is not always what you see, and what is it? Joy, comparison is basically the thief of joy, as they say. The more you compare yourself, the more you look at other people and you say, why have I not got that? Why am I not like that? How have they got that? And, I've done more than them. That's the beginning of the slippery slope to the end, I would say.
I've tried to set up today's discussion, and there's 10 different kind of subheadings. And number 9 today is social media and the comparison trap, which is what you're talking about there.
Well, we can jump from place to place. It doesn't need to be in your order.
Do it in that order, but it is something that we're going to cover today. But I wanted to kick off with the unnecessary spending thing, because it is something that a lot of people do fall foul of.
Oh, you're structured today,
You're taking off.
You're not wanting to be flexible, are you?
It's because I've got it in my head.
Work on that. Can we not just cover number 9 now?
We could, but it would make me feel uneasy. No, I'm only joking. We could touch on that, but let's talk about unnecessary spending. And this is things like, even if it's just like your daily coffee, or dining out every once a week, or going to the movies, or even ordering, or even Sky box office and things in the house and ordering movies. You could sometimes pay about £15-20 for a film and thing. All these wee things add up, and even just accumulatively, £25 a week. If you put that together for the whole year, that's about £1,300. Well, it is £1,300.
I only order a film as I think to myself, I really want to see that film, and then I think to myself, how much is it going to cost to go and see that film at the Odeon? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's like, let's order the film, because it's only like $13.99, and you get to keep it as well. And I know I'll watch it again and again, like I've watched Top Gun 2. again and again, and like I've watched some other films that I've done. And for me, that then justifies it in my mind. I look at opportunity cost. What would it cost me to go and see that at the pictures? About 100 quid. It's like, we'll get it now. That's the sort of thing. I would definitely do that. Somebody says you can stream films for free. I've streamed the films for free. They're pants. They're no that good. I think I prefer actually the value. I prefer an actual. I'm a real geek when it comes to sound.
Yeah, the sound quality.
I'll notice every single precision sound in that in the film, and I'll notice things like shadows, and I'll notice the things that maybe the color depth is different than what you would normally get on the actual version itself. I love high definition. I'm completely into pristine precision. When I watch films and I listen to it, I go to Elaine. It's like, have you heard that? It's just like, and she goes, I have no idea what you're talking about. It's like, did you not hear that? No, in the background. Unnecessary spending. Well, I'm okay with that, definitely.
Yeah, Jack's saying you can't beat watching a film at the cinema. And I think as well, and I mean, I'm 6'5", and a trip to the cinema is not always that comfortable, but the IMAX seats and things and the quality and sound and everything's amazing. They're obviously expensive. But I actually get discounted ones through my car insurance.
You shouldn't be spending unnecessary spending, remember.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking about. It's financial weakness. It's keeping saying to yourself, I deserve it. Get that bloody well out of your head for a start. It's like, I deserve it. You've been watching too many adverts. You deserve it. You've worked for it. It's like bullshit. Somebody's worked harder than you for it, and they've not got it. So, you could always say to yourself, delayed gratification. I want to set my goal a bit higher. It's a classic example about when you get to the summit, there's another summit, and you think to yourself, okay, I'll climb that summit next. That's the sort of thing we're talking about. It's unnecessary expense. So let's get rid of them. Now, we've got 10 different things to go through here, so we better be quick because we've got 6 minutes for each one. Never-ending payments.
Yeah, and I think that's what, obviously, when we say about these things that you can spend on each week, accumulate over the year, that could be put towards things like if you've got credit cards or outstanding debts. And that's where the never-ending payments come in, because you could really be...
Subscriptions. Subscriptions. Yeah. It's like monthly... I hate subscriptions. And the reason I don't like that is because I know it's an ongoing cost. I'll tell you a classic example in business. The photocopiers. Everybody used to come into me and go, I could sell you a photocopier. We can lease it to you. Oh, you're not going to sell it to me. You're going to lease it to me. How much is it going to cost? Well, we're going to give you it for free, but we're going to charge you like 3 pence for every single copy you copy to get the money back. And I worked out and I was like, flipping heck, I could buy about 5 photocopiers for that amount of money. Yeah. Oh, but we'll no sell it to you. We're no selling it to you. And it was the biggest scam ever as far as I'm concerned. Maintenance, ongoing maintenance. It's like, I mean, we're in it. We pay a small amount actually for maintenance for our servers and stuff like that. Most is ongoing subscriptions for Microsoft Office online. That's another one that changed from the model of you just pay for Microsoft Office for 79 quid and that's you got it forever, to now, no, you're paying for it every single year and you're paying for it every user and you're paying for your storage as well. And it's like, that is the biggest money generator for these businesses, which is ongoing subscriptions. Why do you think all these different gurus, for want of a better phrase, and sometimes definite gurus, have subscription channels? Because they're getting it all the time, even though you're doing it. Gyms. Why do you think? Yeah. No, this gym, but gyms.
Memberships,
workout gyms. Yeah. Aye, fitness gyms. Why do you think they have ongoing subscriptions? Because most people forget to actually cancel them. They just let them run all the time and think, oh, I'll be back, so there's no point in cancelling them. I'll be back next month, because they like to think they'll be back next month. But let's be honest, don't bullshit yourself. You're no going back.
Yeah. And
you've given up already on your New Year's resolution.
And they bank on people doing that, and that's where they make a lot of their money.
Of course it is. That's where that. So you've got to be a bit more disciplined in terms of your never-ending payments that you have, and actually think to yourself. But then that brings us on to your living large on credit cards.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that live, and I think they get into that cycle where it's like they spend all month on the credit card. And then and then you're back to square one again when you get paid.
I've got 20 grand to clear next month.
That's a different situation, though, I think.
But I'll clear it.
Yeah.
I'll clear it. But it's like when I looked at it, I thought, bloody hell! It's like that to me. That's boom. That's mind blowing when I
Yeah.
think about that. It's like, yeah, I'll clear that, no bother. But I use it because I get loads and loads of points. I get free companion vouchers for
Things, yeah.
flying around the world, and I get Elaine's flights for nothing. And I basically, there it is to America. We've got it booked again, and it was 1,400 quid for Elaine and I for business class from Edinburgh to where are we going this time? Are we going to Miami again? Yeah, we're going to Miami again. Yeah,
Right.
definitely, because we're going to fly from Miami to Las Vegas to Memphis, and then take the bus to Nashville, then Nashville to Memphis on the bus, the Greyhound bus, and then we're flying back over to Beef Island from Memphis. Yeah, from Memphis to Beef Island over to Necker, and then we're coming back to Miami Airport again from Necker, and then that's us back home from Miami again. So we've kind of done a round trip we've arranged a round trip to America, and the 20 grand is just a down payment.
But then obviously, but then what would you advise people?
Oh my God, that's obscene. It's obscene. But I tell you what, I'm going to say it. I know we're talking about financial weakness. I bloody well deserve it. I've done 40 years of this
situation when you've so you're nearly 40 years in. So it is a bit different. But what advice would you give to people that maybe are just starting out or are having financial, situations that they're difficult with, and they've got a credit card and it's maxed
Cut
out?
them all up. They're mostly debit cards. They're mostly all the different companies that I have. But cut them all up. A credit card is only any good to book tickets if you're wanting to go to a concert or something like that. But if you're in financial dire straits and you can't afford to do anything like that, you need to get yourself out of debt. That's what you need to do.
Yeah.
You need to get out of debt. You need to get good. Get out of debt. Get good. That's what you need to do. So you need to get out of debt. You need to cut up your credit cards. You need to get rid of them. You stop living on someone else's money. Don't convince yourself like everybody else convince you about everything else. It's like, unless you're clearing it every single month and you can clear it comfortably every single month, you should not be using a credit card.
That's what I was going to say. So if you are using a credit card, some people might say, but I use a credit card and then I get to the end of the month and I clear it when I get paid. But if it's basically
but then you're living off their money because you can't afford to actually live. So
why do you not just cycle as well?
Why do you not just discipline yourself to catch up with your pay and then live off your pay? But use your credit card that gives you huge benefits, but don't live with your credit card. Live within your credit card. Just use it to get the benefits of it, and that's it. That's what you need to do. But a lot of people just can't discipline themselves to do it. They get carried away.
And if you get to a point where you're spending more than you earn in a month, you don't want to be in that situation.
Most people do.
That's what I mean.
Too much month at the end of the money, especially in January. January over yet. It's no payday yet.
We've got a few days yet.
It's like payday tomorrow. Hey.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. God, do you not think Christmas was like 6 months ago? That's weird to think it was only just a month ago.
It wasn't too long ago in my
Oh, it's bizarre. January is just, oh my goodness, I could have been somewhere else in the world. I should have been. I'll remember next year I should just take January off and go travel in the world. Definitely. I think that's what we'll do. We'll just make a pact, Elaine and I. It's like, January. As soon as everything's over at New Year, get the flights booked, we're off. So that's probably the next plan. Get that sorted out.
Yeah.
Just come back for Christmas and then travel the next time. I might get away with being a non-dom at some point in time. Get a better tax status.
But yeah, definitely be careful of credit cards and living within a credit card month to month, or living with your actual income on a monthly basis is quite an important one. The next one we're going to talk about, Jim, is something it's a real bugbear of yours, and it's buying new cars or new vehicles. And it's something that we've touched on quite a lot throughout the shows and things.
I think buying a new vehicle's nuts. New vehicle is nuts. It's like you're buying something brand new. It's right off the forecourt. You're losing money on it straight away as soon as it goes. I prefer if I was going to buy anything, I would buy it nearly new, because it's more devalued to the right sort of price. you're getting more value for money, I think. But also consider lease purchase.
Okay.
I mean, Matt, the Kia we've got, it's like how much is that? The Kia that we got as a company car is, I'm sure I just
That's the
chucked
one
the
you
bill in
drive.
here
Yeah.
just now. Yeah, it was something crazy. It was next to nothing in terms of what it cost. See if I could find it in this lot. But and I'm like, when you get things like that, aye, net £225 a month for a
Okay.
Kia Ceed.
And it was brand new.
Aye, brand new, £225 a month for a car. That's a no-brainer. You've not really got any repair bills because it's brand new. It's under warranty, so all you're doing is petrol. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as I'm concerned, that's a really good deal. Plus, it's through the business, tax deductible. It's a business expense. That's what I like.
Whereas opposed to if you were to borrow money to buy a new vehicle, you're paying interest on a depreciating asset.
Well, we proved it. When you go back to the wealth creation show and we did opportunity cost where I was going to buy a Lamborghini Huracan,
Yeah.
Lamborghini Huracan is £178,000 at that time when I was going to buy it. And I proved that would cost me £2 million to buy. And the opportunity of the investment, I could have put that money elsewhere over the next 20 years. So the Lamborghini Huracan over 20 years would cost me $2 million, probably more actually, to actually have.
Over that period of time, yeah.
Because I could have made $2 million with 178 grand over the 20 years.
By investing,
and that would have been easy to do, by the way. That would have been easy to do.
For anybody watching it, if you're live on the Insta or TikTok or things, you can go on to the Wealth Creation Show YouTube list and get the playlist of all our shows. We're on episode 159. Opportunity Cost was way back at the beginning. We've done that quite early on, so it's quite a good one. But you could watch the
That was a great show.
It was a
I
good
owned
show.
a Lamborghini Huracan without actually owning it. I went through the whole joy of owning a Huracan without actually owning one or paying for it. So buying a new vehicle's never been my thing. New vehicles just cost money. The depreciating assets, unless it's a tax deduction or a business deduction, then I don't see the point of buying it. The vehicle that I own is a T25 camper van from 1981. And I've got it undercover just now because of all the elements. But that's what I like. I bought it for $5.5 grand. It costs me running costs every year. A wee bit of wear and tear now and again. You have to improve. But if I was to sell it, it'd be 10 grand because I've got a good deal in it. So I'm all right with that. So I've got an asset which actually appreciates, or it stays at the same value with the money you're paying every year to use it, which is. So I'm fine with that. That's the only thing I own is a car. Everything else is owned.
I'll always hold that because of what it is, because it's obviously the Volkswagen.
Of course it does, because the more time goes by, the more of them are getting either redone and to a different type. Because I've got an original, and the inside's original as well, and everything about it's original. So most of them are getting redone. So it's difficult to get a vintage one like what I've got. But that's so buying new vehicles is never my thing. As soon as I thought I could buy another vehicle, I bought another house. I bought another property. I just put a down payment. It's like, I've got 20 grand. Right, okay. What can I get with 20 grand? I leverage that up, 75% loan to value. I can get something at 80 grand. So I'd go out and buy another flat and then rent that, and I'd make the money. And I used to justify it. So I'd make the money, which would actually make the money for me to go and lease a car. But I never used to lease the car anyway. I never used to lease the car anyway. My biggest extravagant when I bought a car was I bought a Mini Cooper S, a brand new off the forecourt. It was cancelled. It had the DVD box office and the headsets BMW when they first came out. It was bought on I just bought it on a debit card, full payment. It blew the person away. It was like, how are you going to pay for this, sir? You want personal purchase plan? I went, no, just cash. You take debit card? He went, sorry? I went, yeah, money's in the bank. Pay for it. And then it sat and it did 3,000 miles in 3 years. And then I traded it for a Mercedes A-Class when they came out, the good ones, the ones that worked, it weren't they tip them over. But that's the reason, and because that was bought for my business. So I traded it, I put the money into my business and I got rid of it. And so I'd sacrificed what was really my what I loved was that Cooper S. It was brilliant. It was a fantastic car. It was like a go-kart on wheels. Took off like a rocket, and it took corners, no bother. And that's what I loved about it. But no, I'm not into extravagance like that. And then that brings us on to spending too much on your home is a classic example as well. How many people find out what their mortgage is and they go, right, if your mortgage is 300,000, you're allowed up to, you don't need to spend up to 300,000.
No, you see,
buy within your means.
That's another thing that, I mean, unless you've got a big family and you need space and whatever, but then I see couples and things and people that are, I was going to say the same age as me, some of them are younger than me, and they're buying these big, massive houses. And they're obviously going to have a big mortgage that goes with it. They're going to have all the running costs. And I'm like, why? And it's social media and social influence as well, I think, that's really pushed that narrative with people.
It's quite interesting. It's quite interesting because I've got, again, this is a classic of have you got the right house? Let's see if I can see it. I've got it here, actually. Here's a classic example of you're in a house that's far too big for you.
Okay.
Your monthly costs feel unnecessarily high. You're tired of cleaning a big house.
Mm-hmm.
Your spare rooms are being used for storage. Your utility bills have increased significantly beyond what you expect.
Yep.
And you'd rather spend the time traveling and maintaining than maintaining your property. That's when you know you're in far too big a house.
Yeah.
And most of your rooms are sitting empty these days. You know that. So if there's only two of you and you're trying to justify yourself, oh, we're going to have a big family and all the rest of it, you've probably bought your house far too early.
Mm-hmm.
Your house, because it's probably going to cost you a lot more until the point you get the family. I mean, when we had our first house, our first property was a double bedroom and a single bedroom, and that's what we lived in for quite a long time. And even when Tony came along, my daughter, we had her in with us in the cot, and then we also had her in the single room. So she was there for about a couple of years, with our own room. So where most people would go, I need a bigger house straight away.
Yeah.
It's like, why? Why would you go to that expense? And so there's the reason why I've been able to save money and actually use that money I've saved and invest in other investments, which actually made me money. That's what's key. That I would say. So you don't want to put all that emphasis on having this big house. A lot of people just buy it to look good to everybody else. Again, I come back to saying it's about show to a lot of people. You're showing off everything that you've got or achieved to people that you probably don't even like, to try and convince them to like you. That's what happens.
Yeah, the social media and the influence that has on people nowadays is quite a big thing. But if you're thinking about buying a property that has a really big mortgage payment on it, maybe think about, is it too big for me? What is my other outlays going to be? Think about, like you said, Jim, the utilities, the council tax.
Higher council tax.
Yep.
Higher utility bills, higher maintenance, all these different things. More you've got to put into the garden. It's like, I don't like gardening. I don't like gardening at all. It's therapeutic. When I took a wee sabbatical, I liked it in the summertime. But at this time of year, it's pants. It's like, who wants to do it? Let's be honest. So that's why I don't like. The other one, the classic example, as I was speaking about this morning, I do have a friend that's actually taken so much money out of their property and actually remortgaged it so many times to buy things that he's never ever needed, really. But it was more or less to probably impress other people because they lived on a different lifestyle to them. So it's probably to keep up with the Joneses. And now that person's no got their job. Because just recently I saw them advertising for the fact that they're needing another job. And I'm thinking to them, the first thing that popped up in my mind is, oh my God, your mortgage payments are going to be huge. They're going to be absolutely massive. And that's going to be the killer. So these, people are encouraged. And that's what the credit crunch happened as well. The credit crunch was all about people were getting encouraged to remortgage their homes, to take money out, not to reinvest, but to actually spend on things like cars, holidays and all the rest of it. And I remember that when I went to see my mortgage broker, and they went, well, the Northern Rock's got 125% mortgage. And I'm like, what?
Look where that left everybody.
You know, 25% more than my house is worth.
That's crazy.
Your house will move up in value over time. And I went, I'm not really keen on that, to be honest. I'll just stick with the 95% loan to value mortgage at that time. So at least no borrowing 25. Oh, but what would I do with that? And the person actually, the mortgage broker was actually saying, yeah, you could buy a new car. You can go on a brilliant holiday.
Go on holiday.
Oh my
crazy.
God.
Yeah, that's.
Oh my God, that was absolutely. Mark says it there. People's egos drive their want of bigger and better things to prove to others.
Yeah, you're absolutely right,
It's
Mark.
in a nutshell. And I think the more you take, this is a classic example of it. I remember somebody used to say to me, would you not want this or would you not want that? And look at the stand in the community you have as an accountant and financial director and you're where you are and all the rest of it. And I basically said to them, okay, so that's status you're thinking? Yeah. And I went, well, do you think status pays my bills? No, it doesn't. Do you think anybody else pays my bills that are trying to influence me to buy cars and houses and go on great holidays and all the rest of it and be like them? No, they don't pay my bills. So if they're not paying my bills, they ain't telling me what to do with my money and how to invest it. And that's kind of the way I looked at things.
Yeah.
So definitely, I wouldn't be refinancing anything to take money out of my home and all the rest of it.
Yeah, misusing your equity in your home could be a real risky business, especially if you're taking out and just spending it. I mean, taking out
quite interesting because we had this before, and we'll just jump back up to that one. Buying a bigger home. Does that resonate with you, Richard?
Yeah.
It's like when you came. Well, how long ago was that? About 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago now.
Buy a bigger house, and I went, "It's only 2 of you," and I went, "So why? Why would you want to buy a bigger house?"
Yeah, now it makes sense that I didn't. It was the right choice.
You think, thank God for that.
Yeah, especially when I'm still sitting with my 5-year fixed at 2.9% on my own mortgage.
There you go. Quids in. Yeah. And that's exactly it. That's exactly how you should be looking at things. And to me, doing things like that is an opportunity gain because you had the opportunity to do that. And the very fact that you've not done it actually is a gain to you because you've saved yourself so much money. And this comes to the 7th point that we want to talk about, which is not saving.
Yeah. When you make decisions like that, it does put you in a really good position to start banking money and thinking about what you could then do with that in terms of obviously investing for your future. But you need to save. You need to have that pot to get you started. So I think it's really important to save.
The one thing I do, and we're going to talk about it next, but I want to talk about it now about saving, and they're not saving. The first thing you should be doing for your children is taking out pensions for your children from birth.
Yeah,
you're allowed to do it. You're legally allowed to do it. And the government, if you take out a pension from your child from birth, you know, a private pension, as typical stakeholders with Standard Life or anybody else you want to do, so the fees are low, but you can put money away and the government will top it up to the personal allowance. So if you put 2,880 in maximum every year, the government will top it up to 3,600. They will give you free money for your child. It's a huge, massive gain over 50 years because your children won't draw that until they're about 55 or 60 at that time. So there's a huge gain to be got there if you're putting in money now to your children's pensions. Don't bullshit yourself about the fact that there's going to be pensions for them when they retire. There's going to be nothing left when they retire. You can see the state of the economy right now and where we're going with it.
There's going to be any state pensions when I retire.
Eat the rich mentality. Get as much out of the rich. By the way, the top 1% of rich people actually pay 30% of the tax. Top 1% pay 30% of the tax, by the way. So this eat the rich mentality isn't quite true. And 10,000 millionaires left the UK last year. 10,000. Because as soon as you change the tax anymore, and as soon as you try to get people that are wealthy, they immediately go, well, I'll just up sticks and move somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because they don't have jobs. They invest in businesses, they invest in passive income. They don't need to be in the UK. They could just leave any time they want.
Yeah.
I was looking at the British Virgin Islands at the weekend. Virgin Gordo. But I was saying to Ian, I says, you know, when I got up in the morning, it'd be quite difficult for me to look over and see Necker Island and think I could be there, though. But honestly, the British Virgin Islands looks extremely attractive, especially if I keep looking at the weather and it's 30 degrees all year round.
Yeah.
I could live with that. I could live with that, definitely. So
Yeah.
there's a great appeal there in terms of, well, that's what really motivates me and inspires me to keep doing what I do and keep building wealth, because it affords you the opportunities like that.
You could make decisions
Definitely.
like that if you needed to, yeah.
Absolutely. And so this thing about not saving and trying to and just thinking you've not got enough money to save, you need to get your head round that, and you just need to work within your means and actually
Mhm.
reinvest and build for the future. And again, as I said, especially for your kids, if you've got grandchildren, if you're a grandparent, you've got grandchildren just born, then get pensions sorted out for them as well. Even if you're putting in, I'm still putting in, I think, 30 quid a month to Scott's pension, and he's 24 now.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, Scott's 24, I'm still putting money in, but he's putting in money himself. I've just never stopped doing it. And I'm still putting in 44 quid to Ben's, and I'm still putting in 77 quid to Tony's, and Tony's 31-year-old. But I'm
Mhm.
still doing it. I don't know why. It's not as if I need it, so I just keep putting it in. And then if I've got more, I'll top it up to the 2,800, or I'll ask them how you getting on with you, and they'll work it. I mean, they've got enough themselves as well. Anyway, they've done it right, and they've listened to what I've said, and they've planned for the future as well for themselves, without actually compromising on living today. It's
Yeah.
like, oh well, why? You know, you need to live today knowing the future, but it's at least it's planning for that, but not saving is, and that means that there's really no sign of improvement, and your whole everything will just continue to go down
Yeah.
because inflation
And
eats away.
I think anybody that's obviously thinking maybe, well, I don't have enough to save, even if it's really a small amount, as long as you can continually do that and build up this kind of fund. Because a lot of people do, they live from month to month and paycheck to paycheck and whatever, and it's not a really good situation to be in. And they say you should have around about 3 months emergency, a 3 month salary emergency fund, which might seem quite a lot to a lot of people. But at least if you could make a start to that and stick to some sort of saving plan, it will put you in a better position.
Well, definitely, I think that's what's more important, and that brings you nicely on. Well, I think you had said, did you say about keeping 3 months worth of expenses and stuff like that?
Yeah, I just did that, yeah.
I think that's nice to have, and that's, you've got to have some degree of tolerance there about not dipping into it if you don't have to.
Hmm.
Now the reason for that is because it's always going to be there, and it's always going to give you peace of mind if anything ever happens. At least you've got 3 months worth of expenses to live on.
Yeah, to fall back on, yeah.
Yeah, it's and it's amazing how relaxed you feel as a result of that, just because it's there. Look at when I watch game shows and stuff like that, people say, "Oh, £20,000, that's life-changing money," and I'm like, "Really? Wow."
That's the down payment on your holiday.
Aye, but when you look at it like that and think, "God Almighty, that's life-changing money," is it really? It's
Hmm.
like, wow.
For people, it is, yeah.
Yeah, but it's and it would have been years and years ago for me as well. That would have bought my first house, my first
Hmm.
property. That was £20,000. Back when it started in 1988 or thereabouts when we bought it. That was 20 grand. So when you look at it like that, absolutely, that is life changing because it'd buy your first property. But today, um, I kind of look at things like that and I think to myself, God, if you're thinking that's life changing, then you need to do something else.
Hmm.
You need to invest. You need to build for your future, because that's a pretty precarious position to be in, to think that only £20,000 is going to make a significant difference to your life.
Not in today's economy.
Well, it's borderline, isn't it? For a lot of people, it's like, wow, it's really, if that doesn't make a difference to you significantly, then there's something wrong with the way you're creating wealth or the way you're planning for your future, if
Hmm.
that is going to change your life. I would say anyway. I think in order to change somebody's life for the better, you're talking 500,000 upwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would have to be.
And I know that sounds daft because people will go flipping heck. I would live on that forever. But would you? Yeah, would you? I mean, £500,000, 500,000 divided by 20 is 25 years. But would you be able to discipline yourself to live on £20,000 for 25 years? And just take into account the interest you're making would probably keep up with inflation anyway, so it wouldn't erode your savings. But would you be able to discipline yourself if you had £500,000 in the bank and just live on 20 grand a year for 25 years?
What if
Could
people
you do
wouldn't
that?
be able to?
Of course they wouldn't. Of course they wouldn't. Because that's exactly why they are where they are right now. Because they can't discipline themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you are where you are. Yeah, it's you, whoever's listening right now. You are where you are by the decisions you've taken to get to this place.
Yeah.
In order to get to where you want to go next, you have to think entirely differently than you've thought before, or you would have been there already.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I think that's what it's maybe a bit of a reality check to some people, but it's maybe what some people need, because if you're in that situation, then yeah, that's the way you need to really approach it.
Yeah. So invest definitely, but that then cleverly takes you on to the next one about not investing for retirement.
Yeah, which we touched on a wee bit there, and I think it's sorry.
Quite frightening how many people average pension pot. Let's look up average pension pot.
Yeah, let's do that then.
Average pension pot at retirement in the UK is a whopping. According to data, the average UK pension pot at retirement is around £194,000, though this figure can vary on factors like gender and individual saving habits. Well, it's improved over the years, but maybe they're saying that's the average pension pot you need to live on. But even
Depends how long you live.
194,000 isn't going to do much damage,
No.
is it? 194,000 is literally, when you look at 194,000 divided by 33, which is apparently the average salary, is only about less than 6 years.
Yeah. So if you're living longer than 6 or 7 years,
you are not retiring on 194,000. But I've got the pension from the government. Aye. In 10, 20 years' time, the pension from the government will disappear. I think it's something like
I don't expect to see that.
43% of our tax receipts that come in are spent on local authority. They're spent on public sector jobs. 43% of the taxes that come in. It's a huge amount of tax that comes in is spent on that. It's crazy. And so where does that say? What does that say about the money they're going to have to put aside to try and give you a pension from the state? It's not. Why do you think they're forcing employers to contribute towards people's pensions, and then they're also forcing the person to contribute to their pension as well? Because they'll get to a tipping point where they'll realise that all the pensions are enough, and they'll be able to start to take away the pension, or they'll be able to freeze the pension where it is. So what will happen over the years, like the personal allowance getting frozen, instead of it being worth the 12.5 grand it was 20 years ago, and what 12.5 grand could have bought you? Well, look at 20 grand could have bought you a house in 1988, could have bought you a flat. But today, that same flat is probably about 75 to 80,000 pound, 4 times as much. So if they freeze the pension at, what is it? I think it could be 12 grand or something like that, the state pension. If they had 12 grand as a state pension and they froze it over that period of time, it would devalue 4 times. So effectively, £3,000, it would be worth £3,000 in that same period of time in the next 30, 40 years. Your pension at 12 grand would
gradually becomes near enough worthless.
Exactly. It will no buy you a penny dainty. It's equivalent to what it was all these years. Yeah. You don't even get penny dainties anymore, do you? Yeah, I used to go. My shop that I bought, obviously, I used to go down there, and it was a half-penny box. We used to get half-pence for each, like a bubbly or a gobstopper or a dainty, a big huge dainty, not just your wee
Mm-hmm.
piddly things. That a chewy toffee, by the way, that is.
Okay,
And
yeah.
Bubblicious and Bubblegum and all the rest of it. It was a halfpenny box. Now you don't even get things like that anymore. It's like it's the 99p box,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
more than likely. Or it's like you'll be lucky if you get a wee snowdrop worth whatever it is you're after for even 10p. So you could see how it erodes if you don't invest for your retirement and you don't invest in the right funds. So your money will just erode over time. There's no point in putting it under the carpet or sticking it under the rug or under the bed, the mattress. It will just erode completely. It will be
Mm-hmm.
worthless. Let me give you see this. This is 15 grand.
Okay.
15 grand. This 15 grand will be worthless in 30 years' time. You'll be lucky if it's worth 5 here. By the way, it's fake money. It's no real. I don't carry this. This is look. It's just a specimen written on it.
Right, okay.
I've got it for theatrical reasons.
Right, okay.
That's why I've got it. So it's no. I didn't keep money in my house, by the way. So nobody
I was
finds
gonna
where I live.
say.
I don't keep money in my house. No, I don't. I'm no daft. I keep it in the bank.
Yeah.
Or I keep it invested in, I keep my money working for me all the time. I don't really keep it in the bank, but it's working capital in the bank. But I keep my money invested in investments, so it makes money all the time and generates money as a result. That's what I do. That is called investing for your retirement, which I'm not really sure it'll ever come. So
Your
make it
retirement
work for
is
you.
an important thing. Yeah.
And do what I do, discipline. So we're all coming up to the 1st of April, which is typically usually the time that people are assessed for a salary negotiation, salary rise, or anything like that. Whatever you get from your employer, just put it into a savings fund
Mm-hmm.
from now on. Don't live on it. Don't use it. Just take that amount you get extra and put it into a wee savings fund and start to build. And then the next year you get even more, you put that amount into savings fund as well.
And see how that
So
grows.
yes, you'll slowly get into a way where you'll start to live within your means, but you'll not notice it's happening. You'll just adapt to it over time. That's what happens. So you adapt over time. You start to live within your means. You start to live below your means, and therefore everything you're getting extra. And then when you get that promotion, because you've maybe been studying at college or university, it's like, yeah, you could take a wee bit of that and add it onto your day-to-day income, but take most of it and start investing that as well. That's what I did. I started off as a window cleaner, and then became a training accountant, and then I lived on my training accountant salary more or less all the time, even though I was a financial director. And then I invested that as well. So we lived on about 12 to 13,000 pound a year, Elaine and I, all the time. £1,000 a month we got ourselves down to, and everything else went into investments and property. That's why I am where I am today. It's not anything to do with fortune or good luck. It was just a disciplined process. Anybody could do this. Anybody. You just have to be disciplined enough to do it.
Yeah, discipline's one of the most important things, and I think something that a lot of people do struggle with and find difficult. So if you could master that and discipline yourself, then you could be on to do something.
Now, one of the things that's come up recently for me is SaaS. For basically
SaaS,
yourself to invest pension because you're a business owner and all the rest of it. And I was going down the path to change my pension to SaaS, but my pension's only like 5% of my net worth. And it's like, do I really want to be involved in actually managing my money and, for my SaaS pension and working out whether I should lend it to this company or that company and the percentages? And it's like, it's only 5% of my wealth. And it's like, who cares? It's like, I'll just leave it with standard life. Yeah. Yeah, you're exactly right. All that work for just trying to do that, it's like, it's no worth it to me. It's like, I'll just leave it with standard life. I'll leave it in UK equities. It makes a really good return. It's gone up significantly. I mean, basically in the last month, I've made about 15, 20 grand.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that, just to appreciation with the stock market. It's gone up 8,500 it's gone to now. It'll probably go to about 9, I would say as well. So, and it'll always continue to go up. And remember, I bought in when things were at 4.5 and stuff like that. And that was only opportunistic because, some things happened in the world events happen and everybody panics and stock market crashes like a stone, and it's like, yay, beauty, start buying. And then that's when you've got cash reserve and you think to yourself, this is the time to buy. So you build cash reserves as well, and you build working capital. And it's like when the time comes along, when people are fearful, that's when you jump in. Obviously find out why they're fearful, but if there's no profound reason, then that's probably when the time you jump in, because I know the stock market will just recover. It's like, if it goes down to 4,000, it'll go back up to 7 at some point in time, and that's you doubling your money, whatever you've put in at that time, and then you just put in amounts over a period of time. I've still got to put a significant amount in before the end of the tax year, coming up in end of March, and I'm still going to do it because people are going, why would you need to do that? It's like, I'm no bloody stupid. It's like, if I lost everything else tomorrow, I'd still have my pension.
Yeah.
No, that would.
But
I always err on the side. I'm always prudent. I'm always cautious. I'm very meticulous and calculated in my way I do things. I don't leave anything to chance. I don't leave any downsides that could leave me wide open to everything else. I always have something. So at least we've always got something just in case. So everything's protected as well. And that's all about investing for your retirement.
Yeah. So let's talk about we touched on it at the beginning and we didn't jump forward. The social media and the comparison trap. And it is a really influential thing, especially in today's society and things. I mean, social media is something that's it's a real meaningful source of communication and connection. I mean, we're on it right now. We use it as a big part of our business and things as well. But do you know, it does also have a negative impact on people in that way, that it could kind of create an unreasonable expectation for people. Do you know, even for the home that you should live in, the relationship you should have, the travel plans you should make.
What is the purpose of social media?
For me? Are you asking me?
No, in general. What's the purpose of social media?
For me, I think it's to display where you are, what you're doing, what you've got in life.
The purpose of social media is to influence other people to buy your product.
Right, okay.
That's all it is.
And is that why it was designed?
Of course it is. Why do you think Trump reversed TikTok in America? The decision to switch it off? Because all these millionaires that were advertising on TikTok and making an absolute fortune, their business was going to be wiped out overnight.
Mm-hmm.
All these people making an absolute killing in the market. Social media is all about influencing producers, influencing consumers.
Yeah,
that's all it is. What do you think we're doing here right now?
Yeah, I mean, and that.
I'm not caring if I'm influencing anybody or no, to be honest. But
it's creating content.
This is what happens, doesn't it? Because you do get people approaching us going, "Why would you? Could you mentor me?" I get it all the time. People, could you mentor me? I'll pay you. I'll throw money at you. And it's like, well, here you go. Here's money. Have my money. Take my money, please. You know, that's what people sometimes do to me, and I'm like, nah, you're all right. It's like I'm no. I tell you what though. I'll put you in touch with Richard. We'll get you a plan together. We'll get you a wealth plan so you can actually generate wealth over a period of time. And we'll get you the right properties you need to buy, and we'll plug you into that. And we'll leave you. We'll manage it all for you, and we'll make your money work for you. That's all we're doing. So that's probably the most influence or the most things I would do for someone. It's like I would lose money if I start to mentor people.
Yeah.
In my time, I would lose money if I started to do that. So that's why I would rather have a system which I can plug them into, and they can generate just as much opportunities and wealth as what I've done as well. It's the same system. Same system as I use. You know, I'll just plug you into it. You make the money, you own the property, you get the wealth, all the rest of it. We get a small management for managing the property and putting tenants in and stuff like that. That's all I'm interested in. I'm not interested in anything else. We just look after you for a life, and then if you want to pass it on to the next generation, we've got a system in place to do that as well. That's what I like doing. So the whole point of social media for most people is yes, you're exactly right, to consume information and be social with each other, and that's really what it was set up for in the first place. But really, when you look at it back and you watch what the original film was when Mark Zuckerberg first started it, it was all about comparing who was the best looking woman.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's what it was when it first started. And really, it's not really evolved from that for a lot of people. It's all about comparing who's got the best lifestyle. Instagram. What do you think Instagram's for? Instagram is a platform for people to convince other people about things that they have that they actually don't really have at all.
Yeah, and
Look at
and
my
then
fancy plane. Look at my
yeah.
fancy plane that I'm getting on. And then the next minute, the boy for the side, once it's over, is going, right, that's you had your time, beat it.
No, actually, yeah.
Give me my plane back. Look at my fancy car. And then the next minute, they take it back to the rental bit and they hand it back. That's what social media really ultimately is for, and maybe to inspire other people as well. That's another thing for social media, to inspire other people, but it's basically to like attracts like. People are attracted to people like them or people they want to be as a result. Hence the reason why I get people approach me saying, would you mentor me, would you tell me what to invest in, and all the rest of it. And that's ultimately what social media is all about. The great thing for me, it gives me a golden opportunity to see where travel destinations are, because I was speaking to a couple that have actually retired. A solicitor was retired at the weekend, and I was asking her, where are you going next? And she's going, I'm going to Machu Picchu. And I'm like, oh, I was thinking about that. Says, see, when you go, put loads and loads of photographs on. Says, don't let him do it because he's not very good at it. but you do it. Put loads of photographs on, because I want to see what it's like for you, because I really want to go, and it's a recommendation thing. It's a great recommendation platform, and it's a communication channel. It's just another form of communication. Most people will communicate through WhatsApp. They'll communicate through Messenger rather than actually pick up the phone now.
Yeah.
Whereas you had to tell anybody and you had to do anything, you always had to pick up the phone and dial. And that's for anybody that doesn't know, that's me dialing the number.
The
It used
analog
to be a
phone.
circular thing. You had to
My
do.
gran had one.
And it's a platform that people pay attention to what everybody else is doing and then become judgmental about that, whether they agree or disagree with that. But my premise to that is, it's someone else's stage that you're commenting on, and you don't have a right to stand on that stage with your comment unless they let you. That's what the ban and delete button's for.
Yeah, and I think as well, if you're on social media and letting other influences dictate what you're spending your money on, or how you're going to spend your money, that's a real sign of financial weakness.
That's it. You've nailed it. That's exactly what happens. The comparison trap.
Yeah.
It's and if you think, if you don't realize that's what's happening to you, you're even in worse trouble, because that's what they're doing. It's all about that. That's why you've got people. That's TikTok's the devil's work. Let's be honest. It's TikTok is like feral Facebook, if that makes sense. It's like all the ferals have appeared on TikTok because it's completely uncensored. Nobody gives a shit about it. Everybody just says what they want, and there's no consequences as a result.
I think on TikTok, it's such a wide spectrum, just from all across the world.
Anonymity is rife. You get all the keyboard warriors hiding behind their trolls. No getting any New Year's resolutions this year? Become a troll. Become an internet troll. Why not? That's the sort of thing. So these are the people that take great delight in trying to tear other people down because their life is so shitty. That's really what that's all about.
Yeah.
And most of the things, that's why people become trolls, because it's like, my life's that shitty, I think I'm going to take it out on someone else. That's ultimately what that's all about. Jealousy, envy. That's it's all these different. It's the seven deadly sins, isn't it? These sort of things. So the comparison trap is really, and as soon as a celebrity opens their mouth and starts endorsing something, it's no for me. as far as I'm concerned, if somebody does that, it's like, no, it's probably not me. I'm very cynical about it. It's like, what are you trying to sell me?
Yeah,
What's
they're
the,
getting
what's
paid.
behind
They're
it?
getting paid to push this, push that out. Yeah.
See, even in films now, product placement, but you've
Yeah.
got certain brands and stuff like that. It's clearly you're just trying to sell me this brand by what you're doing or how you're doing it. And that's what it turns into. And you're right, it is a major financial weakness. Final one.
Yeah. I think, well, we've covered quite a lot, and it's obviously from credit cards to new cars and, you know, saving and retirement and using your, like, overspending on a home and misusing your home equity and everything. But I mean, a lot of that's irrelevant unless you really have a plan in place.
You have a plan. Well, I tell you what, let's play a game of football or a game of rugby. Mark would appreciate that. A game of rugby.
Yep.
But we'll take the posts away. We'll take the goals away. How do you know what the score is then? If you've not got any goals.
Yeah. What you're playing towards, what you're working towards.
What's your what you're trying to achieve? Oh, I'm trying to achieve 3 goals. But if you've not got any goals, how do you know it's a goal anymore? And that's what a lot of us try to do. That's what, you know, I used to do that when I was a lot younger. Before I knew all this, before I read all the books, before I met my mentors. It's like I just lived from hand to mouth. I had too much month at the end of the money. I always ran out before the end of the month. I always waited for payday to come along. I always used kind of loans, used to juggle all the time in finances and stuff like that in order to keep keep things going. I felt I'm a hustler. You know, you felt you were hustling all the time. But the reality is you were just trying to stay being broke. And might have been even better. I might have been better off just being broke. Because I tell you what, where I was, it wasn't broke. It was way below broke. Living from hand to mouth and living on credit cards and stuff like that when I first started. And then when I did my accountancy, then I started to realize it's like, wait a minute, I know what's going on here. And I started to work everything out. I started to refinance everything. I started to put everything and consolidate the loans into one better loan at a better rate. And made it more manageable. So I was able to take the cash flow I was saving every month and actually invest it in proper investments rather than actually being able to spend it. And that's when I started to develop wealth, because I saw a long-term vision. I had it all written out for myself. And it was as simple as, if I buy one property, it's going to make me that per year. If I wait 4 years, the money I make off that property will allow me to put a deposit to buy another property in 4 years' time. If I wait another 3 years, I'll be able to buy another property in 3 years' time. If I wait another 2 years, I'll be able to buy another property in 2 years' time. If I wait another year, I'll be able to buy another property, and then I could buy 2 properties, I could buy 3 properties, I could buy 4 properties. And then 20 to 40 years in, I was up at thousands on the spreadsheet. And that's all I ever looked at.
Discipline
That's all I
yourself.
ever thought about. I ever thought about, Richard. That's all I ever had in my mind. The compounding of the wealth. I never knew about compounding at that time. I just thought, if I keep doing that, I know where it's going to go, because it's a mathematical formula, and math don't lie.
Yeah.
Structured, disciplined. Just stick to that plan. Just keep investing that and investing that, investing that, making that return every single time as your KPI. Getting that return on investment every single time, and you will be there, irrespective of what everybody else says, because it is guaranteed. You've got the return, you've put the money in, you know exactly what to do. Job done. It was such a simplistic formula, and it's the formula I still work to today, the financial freedom blueprint. It is so easy.
You're saying that you weren't aware of the compounding effect and that fully at that time, but that's obviously what was happening. That's what got you. That's obviously what was happening in the background.
Yeah. And it's when I started to, because I always did it as an accountant. I always used to look at numbers and extrapolate it up. I mean, even my daughter says, like, God, Dad, you've got this flipping massive spreadsheet in your mind that people can't even see.
Yeah.
You know how you just see a wee window on this computer screen, but everything else is over here in the background off the screen. That's kind of how things work. But this is why the Wealth Creation Show is here. This is why, to get all this down into some sort of format. So my next generation, my existing generation, my next generation, the next generation, next generation, and when I'm dead and gone, they're all still learning from what I learned in the beginning. That's the whole point of that.
Yeah.
And that, what we're doing this right now, is all about compounding wealth and knowledge. Because it doesn't seem like what we're doing now much. You're not getting, you're not getting that many people watching it. I get that from people all the time. It's like, it's not for you to watch.
It's not about that,
It's for the generations of my families to come. It's when I'm dead and gone. It's the information and advice and expertise and the wisdom and the experience that I leave them that they can learn from. Classic example. So if you want to jump a hurdle, you can jump it yourself and learn by experience. You'll trip over a couple of times. But if you want to do it less of times, you watch somebody far more successful than you at jumping hurdles. This is how my mentors taught me. You learn from their wisdom. They've experienced it already. So you learn from their wisdom about how to do it quicker. That's the whole point. And that is what this show is all about. So the next generations to come don't have to learn everything I did from scratch. They could just watch this and listen and learn from this, because this is timeless content. This doesn't change.
That's what, it's always relevant.
What we talk about isn't day to day. It's timeless content, but it's not our timeless content. It's standing on the shoulders of giants and taking their information and redistributing it in our words. And putting my own
experience,
way of how I've implemented it and used it and strategized. And then the next generation will do that as well, and the next generation will do that as well. So what we're doing now will compound in years and years and years to come, generations to come.
Yeah, definitely.
And that is called having a plan.
Yes, and I think you really need to have a plan. And if you don't have, or you haven't really carved out any time to think about your finances and really look at them, then you're going to fall foul to financial weakness in one of these aspects that we've covered today. And I think, although sometimes with financial weakness, some things can be out of your control, and that is obviously sometimes that does happen. But you need to try and get your finances on track, and at the very least, review where you are just now, and create that solid financial plan, I think, to get yourself moving forward and where you want to be.
I would be pretty pissed. I'll be dead, by the way, anyway. But I'd be pretty pissed in years to come if I realised that the next generation got all this wealth that I've built and actually pissed it all up against the wall.
Well, yeah, I would expect you would be, yeah.
That's exactly why I'm doing this right now. So at least there's some sort of thing that they could learn from and how to handle this. Because if you're handed millions just like that, and you've got no preparation and you don't know what you're doing, it'll go just like that as well.
Or no guidance on what to do with it.
You ever heard the phrase, easy come, easy go?
Easy go, yeah.
Yep. It's happened so many times to lottery winners as well over the years. Pools winners, you know, when you used to do the football pools and stuff like that as well. I used to see them all the time. Like, I won $1 million. It's like next year they'll be skint.
Yeah.
If you won $1 million, what you do? If you won $1 million, what would you do? I would start a business tomorrow. It's like, oh my God.
You're going to lose all of that.
You're going to lose everything, because you start a business because you can make money, no because you've got money.
Yeah. Okay, right. Let's wrap up today on financial weakness. There was a lot of good content in there, Jim, and a lot of good advice that you've shared throughout that. So, and thanks to everybody for watching. There's been some good comments and people joining in via TikTok and Instagram.
From TikTok.
Yeah, there's been actually somebody I know on TikTok's there, so I'll come back to you, William. But yeah, we'll leave it today, and we will be back next Monday as usual for the Wealth Creation Show at 12:30. Until then, we will see you then.
Bye for now.
Bye.